Hello. Yeah, very good morning to all of you. I hope you can all hear me loud and clear. Okay, hi Anusha. Hi Arshad. Hi Radhika. Thank you. Hi Rama. Okay, so let's get started over here. So before we move ahead, were you all able to install SQL Server on your machines?
Hi, Amit. I am actually facing problem in installing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's I tried to uninstall it and do it again, and but I
So
couldn't.
what was
That
the issue?
it was showing is that one second. Could not find the database engine startup handle. That was the error it was showing.
So you had installed both the things?
Yeah,
Mm,
the
okay.
second one, that SSMS, that one went smoothly, but for this one, for the server, it was giving me the error.
So you're saying it was not even getting installed itself.
Yeah, it was keep on giving me the error, the same error, like could not find the database engine startup handle. We tried to reinstall it, and I removed all the files, and I tried again, but it's giving the same one again.
Which Windows are you using?
It's 2019. What is that?
No, Windows 10. I guess it would be Windows 10 only that you're using, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm, actually, it should not create a problem because otherwise, you
It's
might have to just.
I like because yesterday we tried to do it, and we canceled it in the middle, right? So I reinstalled whatever like files were there. I removed them and I tried again, and from the starting I'm having the same error.
Okay.
I asked my husband help also. He tried to do he tried to remove whatever left files on the system. He deleted everything and he tried again. We followed some forums to do all these things, but still it's
Can you try to install it now, and or maybe can you just uh, on the message, can you drop me like what's the error that you're getting?
Mhm.
Just put it on the chat if you can.
Hey Anusha, did you try to restart your system? Switch.
yeah, I tried it. Yeah.
Okay, because while downloading, it was asking to restart a couple of times.
Yeah, but that actually that rebooting it was not asking me. It directly pushing me the error message.
Hmm. Sometimes it just works when you just shut down and restart again.
Yeah, I reinstalled it and I tried it again and again, but I don't know.
No, because I'm just trying to figure out that Google issue like what I'm just trying to Google it out. That what was the issue that would have happened. And so
I think my husband tried to install some other server, like not the one you specified, the Express Edition one. For that also, I was getting the same error message.
I hope you also had enough space basically to install it.
Got the laptop like last week, so I had full.
Okay. Sure, then you will be having.
Like I think I reinstalled it, like I uninstalled it for 2 times and then I tried again, but no chance.
Because what I see is, at a couple of places it is saying that it could be due to the hardware issue. So that is what is coming. And
So is there anything I can do? Like,
so before reinstalling it again, did you restart the machine?
yeah, I did.
Okay. Because the solution that I'm able to find is that uninstalling it, restart and reinstall the
Yes,
complete
yes.
system.
I also got the same answer after searching so much time, but like I'll try it tomorrow again. And if I still can't find, I don't know what to do.
So else, then in that case, what we can do is I'll just suggest you to install older version, right? What you can do in that case is, if suppose you are not able to install the version that the link that I shared yesterday for installing
Yeah, there
SQL
is a
Server, it was
developer version. You are saying that one?
so you can install developer version. You can try using that,
Okay.
or else you will have to might install a older version. So like this is the latest 2019 version.
Okay.
Otherwise, there is a previous version 2014. So you'll have to install that if that doesn't happen.
I'll try to reinstall the same thing again. If I am not able to do, I'll go for the developer one. If not that, I'll go for 2015.
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
maybe others, I guess you have it, right? So Harsha, Radhika, Rama, you guys are able to install it. You see, what we'll do, like yesterday, what we're doing was we were discussing around what exactly a server is and what a database is, right? So like database is like we were discussing, it's a collection of objects where what we do is we have multiple tables in which we store the data. So now what we'll do over here is we will be doing a little hands-on on it to understand all the things better. So I'll request everyone to just launch their SSMS. So first of all, I would like to, we would like to see how the connection to the server is made and everything. So we will see it from that complete the practical scenario now. So first of all, what we do is basically once everything is installed. See, before even you do that, I would like to, all of you please run a command that is window plus R. Okay, just run a command Windows plus R. So the command prompt will open up. So you can type CMD also. Okay, and inside that you have to type services.msc. I'm also putting this on the chat. So when you put in services.msc, so then click OK.
Sorry, where do we type this? Windows.
Sorry.
Where do we type this? type Windows.
Command prompt. So CMD, or you can press Windows plus R.
Oh, okay.
So
Got it. In that, what we have to do?
and in that you have to just write services.msc. Okay. So, this is the services, or because when you install SQL Server, so they are the services of the SQL Server which will be installed. Okay, so now over here, just press S, right? So press S, and over here you will find something coming like this: SQL Server Express. This is something you will find over there. You can just type S and go to this SQL Server Express. Okay. See now, this is basically these are the services of the database engine, the server that we have created. Actually, you installed two of the things. One was SQL Server Express and one was Management Studio. So Management Studio is just a client, and this SQL Express is the main database engine. That SQL Express that you install, that's a main database engine which creates a server. So what happens is, actually SQL Server is a very heavy tool. Okay, it's a heavy tool, and it needs a lot of bandwidth of your laptop when it is running. So many a times you will notice that, let me tell you what will happen is, so you don't have to do this, just watch for me for a second. Okay. So what happens is, when you don't use SQL Server for a couple of days. Okay, so when you don't use SQL Server for a couple of days, so automatically what Windows does is it stops the services of SQL Server. It will shut down the engine, because the Windows thing, we are unnecessarily wasting the space, and since you are not using the server for a long time. So what happens in that scenario is, when you try to connect to your server, you will get a message that it cannot connect. So I'll be coming to you what the server name is. I'll be explaining you. But before that, I just want to ensure that you know this thing, which is very, very important. Because sometimes, what happens is the services go down, and we feel that something has gone wrong in the SQL Server software. But that is not the case. So it will give me an error message over here. Right? So if anytime you get a message like this that cannot connect to your laptop, so you always have to remember that you have to type Windows plus R, you have to come to the services, and you have to right click on this and start. So this gets automatically stopped. So you will force start this, that up the server, and now it comes into the running phase. Okay, then it comes to the running phase. So this stops automatically, but you can come over here and you can start it. Okay, now, so I hope you all have now launched your SSMS. So when you launch this SSMS for the first time, right? For the first time, I think whenever you open it up. Now, the first thing that this SSMS asks from us is the database engine, right? It is going to ask that where that database engine is, and it is going to ask from you the server details, like to which server do you want to get connected. Okay, now over here you have to put that server name. Now in our case, what we have done is, since we have installed SQL Server Express on our local machine, so we have a server created on our laptops itself, right? So we have a server on our laptop itself. But if suppose laptop was SQL Express was installed at some another at another server, so I would have to know or get to know the name of that server where it was installed. So what we do now is, we have to put the server name. Now server name in this case is the name of our own laptop, right? So what you can do is you can simply click on the drop down, right? You can just simply click on this drop down. You all won't be getting these many options. You would be getting only this browse for more. You click on browse for more. And then you click on database engine. And you should find the name of your laptop over there. Are you all getting this?
So when I had opened this SSMS, I had already connected to that laptop. So how do I go back now?
Sorry?
When I had launched this SSMS, it was giving me option to connect to this laptop server. So I had already connected it. So,
So you are able to connect it?
yeah, but I did not go browse for more and database engine. Not
Can you share your screen if possible?
sure. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes. See, now what has happened is basically you are already connected, but you want to open that window again.
Yeah.
Click on connect. Below only. Escape this is. You see connected and below Object Explorer. Yes. Click on this database engine. So you get the same window again. Okay, this is the same window, and you would get the same name only, which is already coming. Yes. Click on this. So this is the name of your machine.
Okay. And
Okay.
I just connect.
So when you click on connect, it just creates a connection to that server. And this is it where you are. So we will also come to the same screen.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Let's stop sharing.
Okay. So I'll take this one. So you get your server name over here and you click on OK. See, now what happens is because we are using a SQL Express edition, because this is like a free version from Microsoft, which we are using for the learning purpose and all. So that is why, we have to put SQL Express in the edition that we are using right now. But in case you will be using a licensed version, right? Or maybe, right, if you will install a developer version of that, in that case, you will not have to put SQL Express. You will just have to put the name of your machine in that case. Okay, so like on my system, I have both the versions installed. So I have a SQL Express also, and I have a developer version also. See, now if I simply type the name of my laptop, I will be connected to the developer version of my server. So over here, I will see now I am connected right now to the developer version of the server. So this is a developer server that I have. And if I right click and disconnect this, and I click again and connect the database engine, and if I put SQL Express over here, in this case, I will be connected to the another server on the same machine, which is SQL Express version. So now if I click on connect, so over here, what is now going to happen is I will be connected to the Express server on my machine. So there are two servers on my machine that are created. Okay. Now what happens is, just I would like to show you. So when you connect to the server, okay, so it's not always mandatory to write the complete laptop name. If you write dot also, if you write dot period, by period, what happens is SQL understands that you want to connect to the local machine. Okay, that means now when you write a dot, SQL understands that the server that you want to connect with is situated on the same machine on which this SSMS is installed. This is what we mean by dot. Or instead of dot, you can write local also, right? So you can write local also. Local comes in the bracket, I just have to put that. Okay, so you can write either local in the bracket or you can write period, or you can write the name of your laptop. Everything is the same. Now, when you install this, when you had installed the SQL Server over there, by default, what happens or what happened over there was there was a Windows authentication that was applied. Windows authentication means that if you are able to log into your Windows, right, when you unlock your Windows, so now the moment you unlock your Windows, that means you have authorized SQL Server that you are the authorized user of that server. So that is why it takes the Windows authentication by default. If you want to apply a separate authentication, right, because if you come over here, there is a SQL Server authentication that also comes up. Now, SQL Server authentication is wherein what will happen is you will have to put a different login ID and password to connect to the server. So, but by default, when we install this on our local machines, it comes with Windows authentication. So you will not have to put any ID password and all. You simply click on connect and there you get connected to your server right away. So now your SSMS, this client that we have, now it knows that where the server is and it is now connected to that. Okay, now this is the server that we have. And you can see the IP address of that server, that is this. Okay. Now what we do over here is you have to click on new query. You have to click on new query over here. When you click on new query, it is going to open a space. It is going to open a sheet where you will be able to write your SQL queries. Okay, now this is just like a notepad. It is just like a notepad where you can write SQL queries in order to do all your work done. Now on this server that you are connected, you can see some folders coming up, right? Databases, security, server objects. Okay. Now, if you just expand databases, just expand databases. So in your case, right now, this list would be empty. You won't be getting any of these things. These won't be there on your machines. It would be completely blank. You would just be having these two folders: system databases, database snapshots. Okay. So what happens over here is that when you are connected to this right now, right? When you are connected to this over here, so basically over here you see the list of all the databases that are already there on the server. You will find the list of all the databases that are already there in the server. Right now, like in the yesterday session, we were having a discussion that what databases are. So now when you work in the real-time scenario, every company has its own databases to manage and store the data. So whenever you will start or join a firm, there are 100% chances that you will find lots of databases already created, because data would be, the company would have been storing that data, I mean, for the previous years. So you will actually find all the data, I mean, all the different databases being created over here on that server previously also. You will find them. But now, first of all, what we will do is we will start this training from the very scratch, wherein we will learn on how to create the databases itself and do everything. So now what we will do is we will see how do we create our database. So in order to create a database, what you do over here is you write a simple command, create database. Okay. So you have to type a command, create database, and then you have to give the database name. Suppose we can give the database the name as, right? So let's give it a name as Intuits. So if you now write this, so you can all just first of all write this down. Now what you do is you select this, and over here you will find an execute button. You will find an execute button. You click on this. So this is going to execute this query, and you get a message, command completed successfully.
Can you please repeat?
So you need to write this command, create databases, create
Right.
database.
Right.
Just click on execute.
Okay. Just a moment. Yeah, done.
Okay. So you got a message, command completed successfully.
Yes.
Right. So now what this command does is it has created a database for us, right? It's like it has created a folder where we will be storing all our objects, all our data in. Now, if you come over here, just right click on the databases and refresh it. Just refresh this. So over here now you will start seeing this, the database over there that is being created. Okay. So now when this database is created, right? So this is the database that you have created or we have created, right? So this is the database that we have created. This is a user defined database. When we install the SQL Server Express, so what happens is that there are some system databases that come pre-installed, right? These are pre-installed databases. If you will expand this, you will find 4 databases over there: master, model, MSDB, TempDB. Now, these are some databases which come pre-installed, right? You cannot do anything about it. I mean, you cannot, delete them or modify them. They are there and they are going to be there every time because these are like inbuilt databases which are required for the proper functioning of the SQL Server. So these come pre-installed system databases. So you never have to touch them up. You will only be working with the databases that you have created. Okay, so now if you see over here, I have a database Intuit, right? So basically now I would like to use this database to store or manage any of the data that I want. Now what happens over here is we write the queries. The queries that you write, so this is called as SQL. Now this is exactly what SQL is, structured query language. Okay, so now what I've done is, if you see, when you type something, when you write something by putting first 2 hyphens, when you put 2 hyphens and you write something, that is something like which is called as a comment. This is a comment that we have written over here. Okay, comment means basically something that you are writing which you do not want to execute. You will never be executing and they will never get executed. So comment are something that we write for our own understanding purpose, that we want to write something, we want to define what we are doing. Like for example, I am creating a database. So over this, I am here writing, we are creating a database. So you can write anything. We are creating a database for the new project. So this is like a comment, which is always a good practice. When you write any SQL query, you should try to write it down so that a person can get to know that what and why you are doing something. So these are just comments which are coming in the green color. You have to always start the comment with 2 hyphens. Okay. Now this SQL that we write, right? Some basic, I would say properties of SQL. The basic properties of SQL are, the first is it's case insensitive. So when we write these SQL queries, they are completely case insensitive. Whether you write create database like this, or you write like this, both are the same. You can write uppercase, lowercase, any way you want. So it is going to work. Second is, it's a free flow language. Okay, it's a free flow language. What do I mean by free flow is, see, I can write this like the create database like this also. I can write create database into it. And if I select this, this is also going to work. This will also get executed. It will not give me any error.
When we execute a code, will only the selected code execute, or the everything what is written from top to bottom?
No, so when you, if you, without selecting, if you click on execute, everything is going to be executed. We have to make sure that we select that much part.
Okay.
So now what happens in SQL is basically, when we start off with something, right? When we basically, sorry. Basically this SQL Server, what happen is that, there are a couple of things, there are quite a few things which you can do without writing the queries also, right? There are a lot of stuff, right? Like if you have to create a database, you can also create a database without writing a query. And there are also a lot of other tasks also which we will also see that we can do without writing a SQL query also. But the main focus in the training would be that we will be doing, or we will be trying to we will try to do that everything we do is happens with the help of a SQL query only. Now this is what the main objective of the training would be, right? Like if you have to create a database, one way you have already seen that you create a database by writing this simple query. If you want to create a database, you can also create a database by right clicking on this. If you right click on the databases and you click on new database, you can create the database from here as well. So the same thing will happen. Now, if I just, it asks me what's the database name. I give the database name over here, and you cannot have the two databases with the same name, right? So you cannot have that. So, I've given a database name, that this is the name of the database. And if you will click on OK, again, a new database will be created by the name of Intuits1. Okay. So you can either create a database by writing a query, or you can simply right click on the databases and you can create the database from there as well. So now what happens is when you create a database, in the backend, right? In the backend, what happens is there are two files that SQL creates. The SQL Server creates two files. Into it, what are these two files? Let me tell you. So when you create a database, it creates two files. One is .mdf, another is .ldf. Okay. LDF stands for metadata file. LDF stands for log data file. So when you create a database, these are the two files that will be created in the backend, .mdf and .ldf. So basically what happens is all the data that you will be storing, that data will be stored in this .mdf file. And parallel to that, what SQL also does is it also generates the logs. Logs as in when was the database created, what was the when did you create a table, or when did you insert data. So it is just a log of that. Okay, this log is useful in case if your database gets corrupted. If in case your database gets corrupted, you can actually use this log file to restore that database which has got corrupted, to figure out what went wrong or what were the issues why which the database got corrupted. So you can use .ldf file for that purpose, but primarily it is the .mdf file that we will be using most of the time, because this is where the data is stored. So every time you create a database, this is the file where the data will be stored. Okay, so whether you create a database by writing a query or you create a database by right clicking and saying create database, in both the cases what is going to happen is these two files will be generated. So now if you want to see that, let me show you. See, when you were creating this file, over here it shows you the path that where this files will be created. So I'm just copying this path and I'll come to this folder. So because when this SQL Server is installed, it creates a server on the C drive. So this is the same path that you see. So if I come over here and I come to this, you see this is where all the databases files are saved. So there is one database that we have already created, that is this. You see there are two files that are generated. One is .mdf and another is .ldf, that is the log file. So these are the two files that are generated in the backend. And you can see the same has happened for every other database also. So all the databases that I have on my machine, for every database, there are two files that you can see for every database. Okay. So now coming back to this, if you now click on OK, see this is going to create a two more files. And if you will come back to your SQL Server and refresh it once, you will find that Intuit's one is also there. Okay. See now, any questions up till here? Anyone? Anything that is not clear or you would like to ask? Or you are not able to do it?
Trying to see the log folder in my local system. When I'm going to C drive, I don't even see the Intuit's folder. Like how?
What you can do is you can copy that path from there when you create a new database. So just come over here, just copy this path.
Okay.
Control A, Control V, just copy this. This is the exact path where that the file, the server is created.
And then I just run it in my system.
Sorry?
And then I run it in the system, like Windows.
No, just copy this and go to that folder path and paste it over there. Copy it and come to the folder path, and over here you just need to paste it. So that it will take you to that same page.
We got the new database from file. Where did we get that from?
Yeah.
A new Intuit's folder from file.
Then you have to come path.
No, new database. How did you get to new database?
So for that, you have to right click on the databases. Right click on the databases, new database.
Okay. Okay, so for me, it's showing when I'm typing that path onto the folders path, it's showing you
Mhm.
for this folder.
Can you share your screen? I'll just try to help you.
You able to see my screen?
Yes.
So I go to new database. I copy the path.
I don't see that. Right? I just see this. I think you have to shade part of the screen.
So you're able to see this SQL 2019.
Yes, this is I can see it.
C drive.
Okay.
And then over here, I'll just paste this as it is.
Right. So hit enter.
It's again giving me error.
You don't click on continue. Click on continue. You see it? So you get it. So Intuits and this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, hello, Amit. Hello. Do we need admin access for the SQL to run some queries, or if you don't have admin access, is that
No, to run the queries you won't need it. I mean, for installation you will need it. So for installation you, but for running the queries you don't need that. Okay. So you know what now what happens over here is once you create a database, okay, once you create a database now, so after that what we have to do is we have to write a command use and the name of the database. You have to write this. You have to say use and the name of the database. So now what is the purpose of this? We have to tell the server which database we are going to work on. Okay, so see, basically now what has happened is there are lots of databases and I have added one more database, that is this. Now, if I have to start working on, right, if I have to add some data or I have to do some data manipulation, that I will be doing on the databases, right? Because every database has some data inside it. Now that is going to happen on a database. Now, how will SQL Server get to know that from which database you want to fetch the data? So that is why you have to write a command use and the name of the database on which you will be working. Okay, you have to write this command. Now, if you don't write this command, right? If you don't write this command, then what is going to happen? See, whenever you open the SQL, the SSMS for the first time, the active database is master. You will see over here it's written master. Master is nothing. Master is a system database. It's a system database. So by default, whenever you launch the SSMS for the first time, master will be the active database. So that means if you try to add some data or if you try to do something, by default, SQL Server will assume that you are trying to work on this database. But that is not the scenario. We are trying to work on the new database that we have created. So you either run this command. So let me show you. Let's run this. and I will say execute. I get a message command completely successful, and you can see over here the database name has changed to Intuits. You can also change the database by clicking on the drop down. It gives you the all the list. If I suppose select a database, my first database, now that means the active database is this. Now if I select from here the Intuits, so now the active database is, so whatever the name you see over here, that is going to be the active database. And in order to make your database active, you can simply type the command use Intuits.
Hi, Amit. I have a question here.
Mhm.
This use command we have to always use, like you created the database before inserting the values, and every time you have to use that command.
So it is just one, right? Because at one point in time, mostly you will be working on one database.
Yes.
So then you just type the name of the database. Now this becomes active. Now anything you will do, if you will create a table, you will fetch the data. By default, SQL is going to assume that you want to work on this database only now.
So like today we are using it. Tomorrow we are logging again, and we are using the same database. Then also we have to use the use command.
Yes, yes, because when you open it again, you
It
will
will
find
create
that
the master.
master as a
Okay. Okay, got it. Thank you.
So now what we will do is we have got a database active. Now we are going to do the first step. We are going to create table, right? So what I would like to do now is I would like to create a small table in which I would like to store the employee ID, employee name, age, and date of joining. I want to create a table in which I want to store these four information, like employee ID is 1, 2, and 3. The name is Sam, Tom, and Harry. Age is 23, 24, 25. And suppose date of joining is today's date. All the three people have joined the office today. Okay. So now, first of all, what I will actually have to do is before even I insert the data. Okay, even before I insert the data, I will have to first create the empty structure of the table. When I say empty structure, that means how many columns you want to keep, what will be the name of the column, and what will be the data type of the column. Right? Data type means what is the nature of data that you will be putting in each column. Right? Like employee ID, this is a number. Employee name, it is a character. Employee age, it is a number. And date of joining, it's a date. Right? So what I'll do now is I will come over here. I will say create table, the name of the table. Let me call this as TBL employees. Okay. Then what you do is in the bracket, you give the name of the first column. First column that I want is employee ID. That will be integer. So you write int. Int stands for integer. Okay. Then I have employee name, which will be character. Then I have age, which is again integer. And I have date, which is date of joining, which is date type. Okay, so I'll just explain you. You're gonna just first write this out. What we do is we are saying that I want to create a table by the name of TBL employees. In that table, I will be keeping 4 columns. First is employee ID, and I write the data type of that. Then I say employee name, I write a data type of that. Then I write age. So first you write the column name, and then you write the data type, that what is the kind of a data you will be inserting. So there are different type of a data types that we have in SQL, and I will be going through them. I will take you through them, like what those data types are. But these are like very generic ones. If you will see all the data types that you will see, you will be able to understand by the name itself, right? Int as an integer, that you will be storing some integer as a whole numbers over here. Character means data type of something as text, right? So this is what we do in the employee name.
Int would not include for decimals, right?
Sorry?
So integer will not include for decimals, or will it? Like, if
No, it will not. It will not. If you want to store the numbers with decimals, you will have to use the data type as float. Now this will accept decimal also. Okay. See, now what you do is we have defined employee ID, integer, employee name, character. Now this employee ID is the name of the column. So whenever we define the name of the columns, right? When you define the name of the columns, you should not use space over there, right? If you see right now, when I'm using employee ID, I have used underscore, but not a space. Okay, so when you give the column names, you should avoid using some special symbols or a space. Instead, you can use underscore. But even if you want to use a space, in that case, what will happen is you will have to write that column name in the square brackets. That is how you will have to write the name. So it's always a good idea, because you will unnecessarily you will have to keep putting the square brackets over there. So it is not considered as a good practice to use space in the column name. So what you do is you simply use underscore instead of that. Now you select this and execute it. Oh wait, so before you execute, just one thing we missed. So when this employee name, I am defining its data type as character. So when you define something as character, right, you will also have to define size. Okay, you will also have to define size. Basically, what I mean by size, see, now employee names can be, employee name can have 5 characters, 7 characters, 3 characters, or 10 characters. So what you do over here is you define that 20. That means that you will be able to store a name of maximum 20 characters. Okay. So
This
when
would
you say,
include, sorry, this would include spaces also?
this will include space also.
Okay.
So character would be anything. It could be anything. Special characters, asterisk, percentage, hyphen. So it could be anything. What happens if you define? So basically, when you write cat 20, then that means you will be able to store a name of maximum 20 characters. If you will try to store a name with more than 20 characters, SQL will give you an error that the data has been truncated. It cannot store the data with more than 20 characters. So it will give you an error. And by mistake, if you forget to write this, so default it takes that as 1. that you will not be able to store a name with more than one character. Okay, so I will define the size as 20 and let me run this. Okay, so now table is ready. The table has been created. So just refresh. So the database that we have into it, just refresh that database. Expand the database. And over there, you will find a section of tables. And expand the tables. And this is where you will find TVL employees.
Does the data type date include all formats of date?
No, so SQL Server accepts the date only in the format of year, month, and day. This is how you have to give the input.
The
But yes,
American way, okay.
so but when you display, when you want to display the output over there, we can change it.
Okay.
The table is not created for me, Amit. So I
Have you
could not
refreshed
enter
it?
from. Yes, I did.
Did you get this message after executing that command very successfully?
Yes,
Can you share the screen once?
sure.
Can you write on? Can you just refresh it once more? No, right click on the databases. Right click on the database. The Intuits. No, actually, you're opening the wrong database. It's Intuits, the one that you have opened. You are opening Intuits 1.
Sorry, thank you.
Okay. See, now the table structure is created, right? If you expand this table, this is the table that we have created. If you will now expand this table now, okay, if you click on expand, you will see a section of columns. See, now if you just try to understand the hierarchy, we have a server, right? So the server that we connected. Inside that server, we have lots of databases, but we are right now talking on this database. So inside the server, there is a database. Inside the database, there is a table. And now inside the table, you have columns, right? Columns are what? The columns that you have created. If you just expand the columns, you will find that these are the 4 columns that we have created. Now that is, it is showing us that this table that we have, the TBL employees, this table has 4 columns: employee ID, employee name, age, and date of joining. Okay. And over here it is written integer, character, integer, date. That means that is the data type. It is telling you that these are the columns and these are the data types. And against the in data type, it's also written something as null. Null means that the employee ID can be null also. Null means blank. The employee ID can be blank also if you're trying to use it. Okay. Now this is what we understand by this null. Basically, if you leave some employees ID as null, or if you leave employee name as blank, so it won't be a problem. SQL Server will not give you any errors. Now over here, once this table is created, but right now this is empty. Okay, right now this table is empty. So we need to insert some data inside it. And how do I do that? You will say insert into real employees. So basically to insert the data, we will say insert into that I want to insert into where I want to insert into this TVL employees. Okay, so we're saying insert into TVL employees. Then you say values. What are the values you want to insert? Okay. So now when you insert the values, the data is inserted row by row, right? What do I mean by row by row? Now let me tell you. So we mean that first you will insert this row, then you will insert this row, and then you will insert this row. This is how we insert the data. Okay. So first of all, I would like to store the data about SAM. So what we do is you will have to put all the data in the same sequence in which the columns are defined. First is employee ID. Employee ID is 1. Employee name is Sam. So when you put numbers, they come without the quotes. But when you write something character, right? When you put character data, that is going to come in the single quotes. So I am saying employee with ID 1, his name is Sam, comma, then you put age. What is the age? Age is, say, suppose 23. Then you put a comma, and then you put date of joining. Date of joining is date. So how do we put the dates as in the double quotes? First you give the year 2021, then you give the month, that is 04, then you give the day, that is 01. So this is how you give the date.
So this command values, I see there's also a command like value. So values is for multiple rows, multiple values.
So both will work. So you can use value also and values also. Both of them work.
Okay.
But we should be using values over here because we use value for some other purpose. Now what I've done is I have given the first row. Then you put a comma. And then you again start the bracket. Second row, the employee is 2. His name is Tom. His age is 24. And date of joining is same, 2021 0401. Okay. And then you again put a comma. Let's insert the third row. That is 3, comma, Harry, comma, age is 25 and 2021. So we put this information about Harry now. Oops. Okay. So now what if I run this? I get a message 3 rows affected. 3 rows affected means 3 rows have been inserted into the table. Okay. Now you see database is ready, table is ready, and we have inserted some data also inside it. Now, if you want to see the data, that you have inserted, what we do now is you will say select, we will use select command for that. And how do we use this? You will say select star from TBL employees. So please write it. Yep. So are you able to write it? Okay. So now if you run this, right? If you run this command, if you just try to understand, right? This means select all the data. Star over here means for all the data from this table that we have created. So if you run this, it is going to show you complete data now that we have this table, employee ID 123. His name is Sam. His age is 23 and his age is, date of joining is 1st of April. Right? So this is, if you see right now what we have done is we created a database, created the table, and inside the table we have stored the data. Anyone, any questions up till here? Anything you would like to ask? See, this is like very basic. I'm just trying to give you a little exposure that how the things look like. Now, if you see this output that has come up, it actually looks like a Excel only, right? Like in Excel also, you have similar kind of a structure. You have rows and columns, and you can see the same thing being coming up over here. Okay, now just try and create one more table from your sides, right? Just try to create another table. So now you all have to create it. You have to create a table by where you should have department ID and department name. The name of the table should be table departments. And you have to store the information as 1 department HR, 2 finance, and 3 transport. Please create the second table. Yep. Okay. So you're able to create it. TBL employees. So what we do with this, you will just have to write the same thing, right? Create table, and you will say TBL departments, and then you will just create the two columns, department ID, which would be integer, and then you will say department name, which would be character with a size of, I'll give it as 10, right? And you create the table. And then when you do is you insert the data inside. So you simply say insert into TBL departments, and you say values. One is HR, you have two as finance, and then you say three as transport. Right. So this is the way
To
you
put
will be able
the
to.
comma.
This is once you insert the data, and we can see it. Now what I will do is if I say select star from departments, I'll be able to see that data. So I have now two tables. So if you refresh your database, you will be able to see two tables inside it. Departments and TBL employees. Okay. So see, this is how we create a simple objects, right? If you see before the table name, it is written DBO. DBO stands for database object. That means this is a table which is an object in that database. This is an object of this. So now, so I'll keep the stuff up till here for today, right? Basic stuff. So tomorrow we will do and explore some more advanced functionality. I mean, a little more the functionalities on this and understand the things from there. Okay. So this is just as a starter. So you can try to create some tables, and try to get a new database and try to have some data inside it. So this is where from where we will pick up the things from tomorrow. Because I have to just because we'll be starting with the concept of keys, like what keys are, primary key, foreign key. Just try to give a read if you get a chance. Try to read about primary key, foreign key, unique key before the session tomorrow, so that it gives you a better understanding. Okay. So anything before we leave you would like to ask?
Hi. What about Excel doubts that we had?
Oh, I just forgot I had planned that today. So shall we keep that tomorrow in the starting? Just remind me once.
Okay.
It just skipped my mind that we have to discuss that.
Okay.
Tomorrow
Okay.
first we will do that.
Sure.
So primary key, foreign key, and what other?
Unique key. Unique key. So let me write it down. Primary key, foreign key, unique key, and this candidate key. And alternate key. So these.
One more thing, if you want to save a query, what the code we have written.
So for that, just right click over this. Right click over here and save. So you can save it in any folder where you want.
Format will be as this only SQL.
You can rename it. It will be saved with an extension of .sql.
How will this saving help me?
So if you want to open it up later on, you want to see this query, so you will be able to open this slide. These queries will open up.
Okay.
So like if I've saved it and now if I close this, now suppose I want to open some queries that I wrote. So I'll simply click on file and I'll say open and open file. I'll go to the folder where that file is saved. And I can open it.
Okay, so we have to always save it.
So you'll have to save this.
Okay. Can you please show it again?
You just right click on this over here and click on save. So it will ask you where do you want to save it. It will ask for the path and you'll be able to save it there. Got it?
Yeah, got it. Thanks.
Sure. Okay. So thanks everyone. So see you tomorrow, and then let's take the first SQL Excel doubts, and then we'll start the SQL. Thank you. Thanks, Rama. Thanks, Radhika, Vishal. Thank you.
Thank you.